Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ISDB Group Pavilion. Distinguished guests, participants, esteemed panelists, welcome to the session on the promotion of sustainable agriculture and organic farming in Central Asia. As the climate and environment challenges continue to grow, agriculture is both a frontline sector for the sustainable development as well as for the climate change challenges. So this session will address how sustainable and organic farming practices can not only bolster food security but also drive regional economic resilience, particularly through programs of regional cooperation. As you know, ITFC has launched a program called Trade Connect Central Asia, which aims at developing inter-trade in the region, but also supporting key sectors and collaboration on agricultural value chains in the region, among other sectors also. So today we have a remarkable panel of experts with us here who will bring diverse perspectives to this topic and deep expertise in sustainable development, regional trade, and also sustainable agriculture. So together today we will discuss the role of sustainable and organic farming and Central Asia's future and how collaboration across the region can help achieve these goals. So allow me to introduce our esteemed panelist, Professor Ibrahim Dukhairi, Director General of Arab Organization for Agricultural Development. Also Mr. Marshall Bernou, Senior Natural Resources Officer at the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. Ms. Diana Morris, Economic Affairs Officer in Financing for Development at the United Nations and Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, and Mr. Nazim Noordali, Chief Operating Officer at the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, ITFC. Please, would you come on stage so we can start our session? Thank you. Is working? Can you hear me? Okay. So thank you for joining us today. Our discussion will have center around the three main themes on how sustainable and organic farming can enhance Central Asia's food security, economic resilience, and environmental health, the role of Trade Connect Central Asia Plus program and other partnerships in aligning policy frameworks and market standards for agriculture in Central Asia, and also the ways to attract and mobilize investment to drive sustainable and organic agriculture practices in the region. So for this region, we'll start with the long experience and expertise of His Excellency Mr. Dukhairi, Professor Dukhairi, with the first question on with the now Trade Connect Central Asia Plus focusing on sustainable agriculture growth for Central Asia's resilience and trade. What parallels or synergies do you see between AOED's work in the Arab region and ITFC initiatives in Central Asia that could benefit the region here? Professor.
Thank you very much, Ayman. Thank you, colleagues, panelists, and guests here in the room. The Arab Organization for Agricultural Development is a sub-regional organization in the Arab region composed of all the 22 Arab countries. And we are also very much engaged with respect to food security in the Arab region as well as agricultural development, sustainable agricultural development. And the issue of synergy and what can be brought to the scene from the experience of AOAD, allow me to highlight some important entry points based on our experiences as AOAD, that this project in particular, Trade Connects in Asia, would by one way or another follow the same path that we've experienced in implementing a number of other projects. And these entry points are, first of all, the knowledge sharing. And that is what we call the good agricultural practices, whether in organic farming or in the traditional farming setup. And it's information studies, guidelines, policy briefs, Those are important types of uh, uh, products that needs to be implemented under this knowledge sharing because to me going from traditional farming to organic farming is in a way or another can be considered as a paradigm shift. So you need to make sure that there is enough support, and one important piece of support is to share the knowledge that others have already used. The other thing is the technology adoption, because the process now shifting from traditional to organic farming uh, to many of the producers in the region would be something that needs a part, at least a mindset, a change in the mindset. So that means the technology you provide, the information you provide needs to be backed up strongly according to our experiences. Funding mechanisms, because now you will be talking about mainstreaming. This is not a project that is in a specific geographical location where you provide the support and you quit. You need to mainstream, because now this paradigm shifts means going from traditional farming to organic farming. So issues of how can this sustainability be brought to the scene, one important component would be the funding mechanism. Fintechs, different kinds of fintechs are required to mainstream engagement. One important other point for the synergy is the farmers' organizations and setting up of the local production units. This is an important component because finally the project will bring in some good ideas, some limited finance here and there, some experts, some technology, but then the implementers, the clients are the farmers down there. So you need, with this important mindset, to reorganize them differently so that at least you can mainstream easily and get to the targets. Another, under this, I would definitely call issues of capacity development, advocacy and lobbying at all levels of the project components. So you need to advocate really, and you need to lobby seriously in all kinds of if we are talking about information sharing, new technologies related to the organic farming, or the funding mechanism. So there is a lot of lobbying and advocacy that needs to be put in place. One before the last important component is the governance and compliance, because now it's not the traditional way that people used to do things. With organic farming, there are regulations, there are standards, there are different aspects that will be brought to the scene. So the issues of governance, to make sure, because if there is a breakage somewhere, then you lose the whole story. So issues of compliance and governance at all levels, those who are responsible of the policy making, those who are responsible for the implementation at the farm level, are all needs to be set up slightly differently, and they need to comply with the governance that is required. One final point of synergy and lessons learned that I bring to the table here is to take care of the issues of sustainability and continuous development. Because as long as you plan for the engagement and mainstreaming, an important component would be this, how to sustain this, the issue of sustainability. And sustainability usually has a number of components that needs to be planned right from the beginning before even getting into the implementation. So those are the common areas that from our experience at AOAD that we need to bring to the table, and this project of Trade Connect in Asia would definitely benefit from, and can also take some of the lessons that we have passed through in implementation of similar projects. And projects of paradigm shifts not necessary, the same as the one that we are talking about, but at least rearranging farming units in a new era, in new types of engagement, and that is very similar to what Trade Connects in Asia is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, and this is very enlightening. Bernou, we just heard Professor De Kheri talking about sustainability and sustainable agriculture for the region. So what benefits does the region will have from applying or shifting to sustainable agriculture and organic practices, and how this align with the FAO's sustainable management goals?
Answer that question. You can hear me?
It's not working. It's yeah.
Yeah, you should. Okay, I know you can hear me. Well, so let's start. So myself, I'm from the having a global vision, but I will go down also the regional level on a regional perspective. So FAO, one of our main goal is to see a sustainable agriculture to face climate change, because this is what we need. So we need a resilient agriculture because we can see all over the world already the impact. And in that region specifically, we know that drought is an important issue. For instance, the water cycle, but also the slow drift in temperature can also impact the varieties we will have. So we need a transformation. This is clear. No one is questioning that. We need to transform our system. I fully agree with all what you have said, because basically when we mention transformation, we need all the different elements. We need the capacity building, we need the innovation, we need the access to finance to support the transformation, we need exchange peer-to-peer between countries. So this is exactly what we need. I guess nothing harming. So we really need to put this in place. So this is what exactly FAO is concerned about: sustainable, resilient, and you are here discussing organic. Organic is a good venue because basically you have already set what it is. So there is no question what mean organic. So basically here it's a lever you can use really to fast track the transformation we need. And this is something that also will be echoing and be acceptable for all the other, in terms of definition, countries of the world. So basically it's not just your region and exchange within your region, but you will be able then to reach out outside the region. So it will offer to the farmer, and this is when I want to come, because for us all approaches should be farmer-centric. Because who is producing? They are the farmers. They are the ones also suffering from climate change, but we need really to have a farmer-centric approach. And it's somehow easy, with always a lot of difficulties, but when you mention organic farming, everyone knows what it is about, and it's perhaps you already have a lot where you can build on. So e-learning, capacity building, all those materials are already here available to be used. But where we have a bottleneck, this is the finance. The finance it's not just for organic farming, it's for agriculture and agri-food as a whole. We did a first evaluation 4 years ago. At that COP we will publish the new number on where we look, for instance, the public part, the OECD Development Assistance Committee that report numbers, global numbers for all sectors. But when we look to agri-food, basically we can see that yes, what we call climate-related development finance is increasing. But if you look the agriculture or agri-food, even larger share of that, 10 years ago it was 30%. Now we are 20%. We are not in the right direction. So we need to bend the curve. We need to revert that. If you aggregate private and public, it's same picture, same story, different percentage, but the story is the same, it's going down. On the 13th, we had a meeting, a side event on the voluntary carbon market. And here we were looking where agriculture is within the voluntary carbon market. So it's a very specific niche. But here we realize that agriculture is 0.9% of all VCM market. So you see numbers are really impressively showing that the agriculture sector is not attractive enough. So building on the well recognition of organic farming with the need of finance, so we need to all together, and this is partnership, this is what we need to implement, regional partnership, to find the way to make more attractive agriculture. And using the organic approach, I guess it might be really a low-hanging fruit to move fast, trying to revert that curve. So I will stop here for the moment, but I will add more then after on the regional dimension.
Well,
Thank you.
actually, you touched very important points here, and especially the financing component is very important. And just for information, agriculture sector is the second largest sector benefiting from ITFC financing in terms of trade finance. And when we will hear more about it from Mr. Nazim late. But now we'll move to Diana, as you are expert in developing financing at UNESCAP, and the question was just raised by Martial. How do you see the most effective way, what strategies can maybe ensure attracting investment, financing in sustainable agriculture and organic farming in the region? And how does this align with the UNESCAP goals?
Well, thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. Yeah? Great. Well, thank you very much. First, I want to thank you for inviting us here into the great partnership that we have with ITFC on this topic. You asked a very important point, and I want to first start out by saying that investment is required across the value chain. So we were talking about the farmers being at the bottom end and the core as agricultural producers, but also looking at financing in terms of inputs for organic fertilizers, processing, packaging, and all at the end line in terms of export. And what we're seeing in the region here in terms of investment opportunities is that they are growing. So there's been some very good examples, I think, recently. We've seen investment in Kazakhstan in the amount of $110 million for grain processing plants. Also in Kazakhstan, $117 million in investment for an agro-industry complex for flex cultivation and processing. And also in Uzbekistan, gaining $28.7 million for logistics hub for agricultural products. So there is investment flowing in the region. And I have to say, working on this topic of investment and particularly around project pipelines overall, not just in terms of agriculture, we don't see this in other regions in Asia and the Pacific, particularly at SCAP. And you see a very big, I would say, kind of gap in certain countries. So to see certain large investments like this happening in the region is very showing it's moving in a good direction. And I think in terms of sustainable finance, it is a requirement to continue to move in this direction, particularly underpinning NDC commitments. Agriculture is a major contributor, as we know, to GHG emissions. It's actually contributes 20% to those emissions, and countries' NDCs particularly highlight agricultural decarbonization in their plans. So how to do this, though, one of the things that I'm working on is actually on looking at NDCs and looking at how we can underpin projects to actually implement NDCs and achieve our 1.5 degree goal. And what we're seeing is 48% of NDCs are conditional, and that amounts to $2.4 trillion. And 1.8% actually have no financing needs that have been articulated there. So this really does show that there's a significant gap in the financing, and agriculture is part of that. So how do we fill this gap? And going back to your question, green investment and blended finance is, of course, something that we're continually talking about, particularly here where we're working in Central Asia, but also the Asia-Pacific region generally. You see that green bonds, sustainability-linked loans are showing progress, and if you look at CBI, they have shown a significant increase in green lending and green loans in the region over the course of the last 5 years. Bonds to finance farm-to-market infrastructure, organic certificate processes, and climate-resilient crop systems are just some. Blended finance support from DFIs to de-risk projects and make them more attractive to investors. This is, of course, very critical. And some de-risking mechanisms, of course, including guarantees, but also other mechanisms such as political or policy risk insurance for changing policies, or other types of risks as well. We've seen DFC, the American Development Bank, providing political risk insurance to certain projects. So this is another opportunity to be able to de-risk and make investors come in and feel more comfortable in their investments. And then, of course, on the agricultural supply side, you mentioned carbon offset market, particularly for organic and regenerative agriculture practices. This is going to be, I think, key, and also the future as well. And I have a few case studies, but I won't take too long on this. But I will skip over that and just go into what SCAP is working on with ITCF partnership. And as part of this partnership, SCAP is working together to attract strategic investment to really boost exports in Central Asia, and this includes in the agricultural sector. So in that context, we're working with investment promotion agencies in these countries and the Ministry of Agriculture and Economy to develop and implement targeted practices to attract FDI in terms of agri-processing and to also better enable development for regional agricultural value chains through FDI. So that's where we're focused. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, we have fantastic project of collaboration between ITFC and SCAP in terms of, different sectors, digital trade, and through attracting FDIs. And we're looking forward also to developing and adopting other regional initiatives in the region with our partners. So we move now to Mr. Nazim Noordali. Can you please share with us the specific interventions of ITFC is planning to introduce in support of sustainable and organic farming practices in Central Asia?
Thank you, Ayman. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I would like to thank the panel members here for about their contribution on the technical part of the subject matter. ITFC on its own is supporting all type of technical initiative that will help actually to boost quality agriculture or sustainable agriculture, we call it, in our member countries in general, with a view of improving the livelihood of the people in the rural communities. Because this is the whole idea for us, is we contribute to improve the livelihood of people so that they get a better way of sustainable their families, that in a way keep the people busy in the rural areas, not to flock into the cities because there's no opportunity for them to do business. So what I want to say is ITFC has been known for the last, I would say, 15 years in doing trade finance, but also trade development, which include trade facilitation. So, but in terms of activity itself, the track record is more than 45 years, because we used to be, before ITFC, a department in the Islamic Development Bank. So we were primarily involved into trade finance. Trade finance means short-term financing, import-export financing, supply chain finance in many sectors, including agriculture. So what we've been doing all the time is, while doing trade finance, we come across that to amplify or multiply the impact of our intervention in the member country is to have the trade development, trade facilitation aspect in our financing. This is how we realize through due diligence on the field that you need to tie in a trade facilitation or some way in order to help. Because you can go into producing agricultural product, but you need to find downstream the required market that will help also to have an outlet for this good. Otherwise, it will no use for producing a lot, excess that you can't export. That's the idea for us to create export cross-border opportunity. So over the last 15 years, ITFC has done a total of $75 billion of trade finance, out of which around 20 billion is on agriculture financing, whether import or export. One of the main products that we do a lot into is the help into food security. Food security of import of the badly needed strategic commodities like wheat, sugar, soybean meal, etc. But also fertilizers for grow food. So one example, a case study I will give is how we want to bring our expertise in other regions to the Central Asia, because we're talking about the TCCA, which is called the Trade Connect Central Asia, which is a flagship program to bring about primarily trade facilitation, regional economic cooperation among competitors for the 5 countries in Central Asia, which is first Azerbaijan plus 5 countries, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So the 5 Central Asia plus Azerbaijan. So we want to, these are double landlocked countries, what we say. So we want to integrate them in the global economy. Among other things is agriculture is very important in doing as an impactful sector that we focus on. So we want to bring expertise that we had, for example, in the cotton sector we had in West Africa. We've been involved into the full value chain. We have been helping these countries from financing to capacity building that has helped to improve the financing side, make the financing bigger and bigger, creating opportunities for more trade. Even we being involved into digital trading for them to be able to, when they do export, so that become paperless for more efficiency, and about also, among other things, soil mapping that we have helped contribute by other organizations we sponsor in order for them to use the right type of fertilizer for the soil that they have there. So this type of expertise that we want to bring, because Central Asia has a lot of cotton, and they are, from production to downstream processing. One of them, we want to do capacity building in order to improve sustainable organic farming. For example, we do a lot of training in Indonesia for the coffee toward export. So coffee, we've been able to provide farming to master trainers for them to be able to learn and then pass on this to the farmers for best practices in terms of climate mitigation. So this type of, for 2 cases where we quite involved, and this type of expertise at the downstream level is very important for us, help upstream in order to, I would say, we help the upstream in order for the downstream to be even scaling up. And we want, therefore, to bring the necessary resources from us, from partners, through the program to help into developing sustainable farming that will lead to capacity for export. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazim. Indeed, highlighting the ITFC achievements, I think we can even in maybe another occasion also mention the experience we have in other regions, especially in Africa or in the Arab region as well. Now, back to Professor Dakhiri, about another question. Well, we heard many challenges mentioned, in our session today. But from your perspective, what are the major obstacles and opportunities in Central Asia, from your experience in the Arab region?
Thank you very much once again. With respect to the challenges, I think there are broadly 6 areas that I would definitely state clearly that these are the issues with respect to the challenges. The first one would be the climate resilience, specifically talking about organic farming and how it relates to the sort of context specific, and how would we be able to make sure that the implementation is as per, let's say, go by the book in terms of being climate resilience. Another important issue is the market integration. That's also an area. Now, the whole set of Central Asia's countries are, in one way or another, would come to at least, as Nadim is saying, that they would like to link up this region to the global economy. But I think the first step would be to link them among themselves, first of all, specifically with issues like introducing this organic farming. So the local markets or the regional market should be integrated. So market integration would be an important component before going also to the international market. Issues of policy alignments are very, very critical. And to promote this new engagement, implementing and sustaining organic farming and shifting from the old traditional farming requires lots of policy alignments and creating the environment that is necessary to make sure that the implementation is right from the beginning. Issues of infrastructure gap. We're not introducing organic farming to be along the traditional old methods. No, it will be introduced with state of the art, so to speak, to make sure that all issues of quality standards and enhancing the trade on the other side are all taken care of right from the beginning. So the issue of infrastructure, and that requires quite a lot of infrastructure in terms of machineries, in terms of storage facilities, you name them, along the value chain. Uh, Rural transformation. And this is an issue I think is often left out because it's all about making sure that the rural setup is that's the environment where agriculture persists. So you need to make sure all those who are part and parcel of that rural setup are in one way or another are engaged and geared to the process of this paradigm shift. So I think rural transformation is not only agriculture, it's all the other subsectors that are supporting the agricultural sector. So that would probably be one of the challenges that if not right from the beginning, incorporated into the process, at one point in time we have left something out. And that's an issue that I'm bringing here to the table. One last thing is the mainstreaming or maintaining the resource base and transforming the measure set forth, and that includes the technology of organic farming and also the sustainable agriculture. If I look to the what has been stated, in fact, in the project document, so to speak, I think there are issues that let me just emphasize a little bit. One important issue in the document, or at least in the process of introducing this organic farming and making sure that it has been implemented the way it is, increased adoption of sustainable and organic farming was one of the components of that initiative. Strengthened regional cooperation on trade facilitation and certification standards, another important area, and then expanded market opportunities for organic products and sustainable agriculture. Let me just emphasize one important thing, the one that relates to the sustainable agricultural. I would say the challenges would be limited awareness and on knowledge. And farmers and stakeholders may lack awareness and through and thorough understanding of the organic and sustainable farming practices, which may make adoption a bit lower. Issues of high initial cost. Transitioning to organic farming often requires investment in new inputs, tools, and processes, which can be a barrier for smallholder farmers. Well, for big commercial farmers, it might be okay. For smallholder farmers, it requires some additional efforts. So I'm also advocating for that. Access to resources, limited access to essential resources like organic seeds, fertilizers, pest control, because in organic farming, it's all about not doing things the same way we do it before. So in organic farming, a farmer might pop up quickly to use of chemical fertilizers, so to speak. But that's not what's required in organic farming. It requires a different methodology. So that would be probably one of the challenges that you need to make sure, and farmers need to comply with that one. Let me close by saying that the resistance to change, the farmers may be reluctant to shift from conventional to organic farming due to perceived risk. There is a risk from a farmer's perspective that we often don't calculate and don't consider. There are issues of yield uncertainties with the new technologies, organic farming for that matter, and lack of visible short-term benefits. A farmer, he knows from his traditional practices, in the short term he engages, and then he can secure benefit A, B, and C. With this new introduction, it's not very clear for him right from the beginning that this is the benefit in the short term. But once he engages and it's proved that it's good for him, then it's easy to, even he or she might be an element of supporting others to join the process in one way or another. I have some others, but I will leave the floor for others when there is enough time for us. I can then go for this strengthening regional cooperation, and then the last one would be expanded market opportunities for organic farming. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for this valuable intervention and mentioning all this list of challenges. So Martial, back to you as well for the question. We just heard the importance of supporting regional market integration, which is the Trade Connect Central Asia program was created for, basically. And through also mentioning aligning the policies one of the main important things is also the raising of the standard related to in the region, particularly like certifications. So if you can just supporting the alignment of these frameworks to meet international market requirements for
Okay. Okay, thanks for the question. I will use the question, but also I will build on what I have heard, because we have here a very interesting point
okay,
here.
great.
I guess what we want, we all want, and you mentioned that, communities, farmers. I heard the same from you and from you. You mentioned also on what we need, and you mentioned that we have to go far beyond only the production level. So the, let's say all the value chain, and this was also your point. So at FAO, what we did quite recently and what we will do at that COP, and in your introduction you were mentioning advocacy and why we are here today. We are at a COP where we discuss climate change. That is mostly under the lead of ministries in charge of environment, as it's a sensitive topic, foreign affairs, economic ministries, but we do not have enough ministries in charge of agriculture, livestock, grassland, fishery, and so we need to work really on that integration. So perhaps this is the missing piece that we have to tackle, and this is what we are trying to do. And I will try to answer your question with an example how we are tackling that challenge. We are moving with the new partnerships. I was mentioning that of COP27 under the lead of Egypt. We build the food and agriculture for sustainable transformation. So we have your keywords, sustainable, and the transformation that is part. We realize, based on the given the first part, not in the right direction, what we should do. And basically, we realize it's not just FAO, it's all the partners that was around the table. So, parties, group of parties. So, for instance, we have the League of Arab States that was in the discussion. And we realize that we need 3 pillars. And this is perhaps where the complexity is. We have to work on the finance. So this has been said a lot. But finance alone will not work if we do not work on the policy level. Because if you reach out, for instance, any country will reach out, the GCF, for instance, or another fund, saying, I want an amount, I want a loan, I want a grant, I want bonds, whatever, in that specific sector. And here there is a risk. And if that risk is already, if the policy, if that sector is absent of your policy, basically your fund will say, I might not invest such an amount in a sector or subsector that is not clear in the policy. So all together we have to work on and you mentioned the NDC clearly. So we have to ensure first that agriculture as such, but all the value chain, infrastructure, because infrastructure, even a road, it's access to the market. If the farmer first already know where to get out the farm, it will not work. So access to the market, the immediate market, but then not only the immediate market, the nearby city, all the international market, or that pass by the regional level. So we have to work on the policy. So finance, policy. But it's a triptych. We need a third pillar that is really what we need. It's all related to tools, capacity building, knowledge, and you mentioned soil map. So for instance, we need soil map, because if you don't know where you will have to act, basically we will fail again. It's not because it is in the policy that you will have finance, but you need where. And you need to build the narrative also in your project. So this is what we are trying to do, to responding to that question. We need to activate that 3 part always. Policy, and we need to do a lot of advocacy to ensure agriculture remain in the agenda. It's not a given. It's really not a given that agriculture will remain. Fortunately, that COP, building on also on the previous COP, have agriculture as a specific and dedicated day. But this is really, really recent. If you look at, I guess the first time was COP 27. Then, fortunately, COP 28 maintained that. COP 29 also, knowing Brazil, pretty sure they will keep this, but we don't know then with the future presidency. So we need to do all together a lot of advocacy, and this is why it's good to have also side event because negotiators are around. So if they realize that agriculture it's a real sector that deserves attention, and you mentioned this is the second in your portfolio, so congratulations for that, but it's not all that are doing the same. So basically this is what we need to do. So I invite all of you, I will end here on the Agriculture, Food and Water Day, really to bring on the table all what you are doing, to showcase that really this is that sector need to act. So on that day you will have also a regional level, so bringing to that specific event, because it's not just working at a global level, it's really the need to have a regional action, because a region, here we are in a region that has not the same specificity as Latin America or small seeds in the Pacific. So you have your own specificity, and neighbor country know exactly and are facing the same challenges. So on that food, agriculture and water day, they will have a high-level session where you will have the different regions showing what they're doing at regional level. So this is, we will have the organization of Turkic state that will showcase what they are doing. So I really want to congratulate you for bringing that regional piece that is really a central part of that, linking the farmer to the global level, the World Bank, the UNFCCC, the science, the IPCC, but we need that granularity of exchange. If not, we will fail. So basically, we are really in a global, facing global challenges, but the solution will be local, and this is what we need to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcel. Indeed, I think the issue of food security was really brought up or put, let's say, at the top priority just after the COVID, with disruption of the value chains and disruption of international chains. And that was highlighted and was also pushed even further with the Ukraine crisis, and we've seen food security issues in many regions, especially in Africa, where there's the need most. But talking about regional cooperation, Central Asia, Diana. So for the regional cooperation in Central Asia, we have the Trade Connect Central Asia Plus program and mission, boosting resilience in Central Asia. So how can regional initiatives like TCCA Plus leverage on UNSCOP expertise to establish cooperative frameworks that support sustainable growth and stability?
Thank you. I wanted to actually go back first to the point that my colleague from the FAO was making, because I think it was such an important one, and it relates to regional cooperation as well, but also national level cooperation, and that you mentioned integration is the missing piece. And this is exactly what we're seeing, and this is also, we were talking about the NDCs, this is also something that I'm working on in the NDC front, where you see this integration between not only ministries of environment, but ministries of agriculture, ministries of trade, transport, and finance, which is who I work with. And I think this is such an important point, because to be able to achieve these goals, we need to be able to have that cross-line ministry discussions, but also that at the regional level as well, like what we're doing here today. And it's important to have all actors at the table, because this is a crisis that is affecting, of course, all sectors. So I think that's a very important point, and I just wanted to further emphasize that. But going back also to just regional collaboration, I think there's 2 points here that are really opportunities for Central Asia, and one is in terms of capacity. You have individual countries here that have particularly strong strengths, so in terms of sectors for digital services, for example, or manufacturing. and also regional collaboration through projects like TCCA Plus can help overcome some of these shared challenges and capitalize on some of the common strengths that countries do have, but also location. The region is really in a strategic advantage as the middle corridor. When we look at trade in terms of 13 to 21 days in transit versus other regions where it's 35 to 45 days at sea, this really creates an opportunity and comparative advantage for exports to the European market, but also the Asian markets, and also improved connectivity combined with the growing domestic markets and skill force that you have here really positions it as a strength, and this is an area for regional integration and collaboration and also technology transfer across the countries. But in terms of the SCAP's project with ITCF, we are actually just at the starting point here. So one of the things that I know we're talking quite high level, but we are very much looking forward to sharing the outcomes of the project in the next few months, but also in the next few years. And some of the focus that we have, particularly in terms of collaboration and cooperation, is to boost trade through FDI. And the project to do this takes a three-tier approach through FDI, and this is not necessarily all agriculture, but also digital and manufacturing to boost trade and exports in Central Asia. And the three-tiered approach really focuses first on a national level approach, so developing and implementing practical actions in Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan to boost export through FDI. It also takes a regional approach, so supporting digital and tech firms and scaling up FDI, and then also more of a collaborative regional approach where we're working with the promotion of Central Asia as a destination for investment, and this is again through sectoral value chains and FDI, bringing in FDI as well. So we're very much looking forward to continuing our work with you and sharing some of the results of the program going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. We're looking forward to it also and to other opportunities, maybe in the region and why not maybe in other countries as well. Now back to you, Nazim, with the last question of this session. You are, let's say, behind or the creation of Trade Connect Central Asia Plus program, which is aiming at promoting regional trade and also create a conducive environment for sustainable trade. So how can ITFC even help further foster partnerships to enhance the competitiveness of Central Asian agricultural products?
Thank you, Ayman. I think we have different aspects when we come to trade. Again, I just want to build on what my colleague was saying on the technical level, advocacy. Mostly, we can do a lot of technical work, but policy harmonization is key to enable regional cooperation. Right? So, the TCCA Plus program can facilitate, can be a catalyst, but cannot do the work for the country themselves. Right? So, now we talk about, I mentioned earlier, infrastructure. I totally agree, infrastructure, whatever you talk about, water resources, the road, the warehouse, all these have to be in alignment with a coordinated policy for the country having a strategy of boosting export. We talk about agriculture. I'm not talking about other products, purely agricultural product. So this program will be here to support countries' strategy, but we cannot make the strategy for them. So we are here advocate for them to work, harmonize the trade policy, etc. together, because the market exists, right? The market for, except for organic product exists, and you can get a premium for that. You have seen it in our action in Indonesia, where people doing organic coffee have a premium as compared to producing non-organic coffee. So, and Central Asia is a country where there's not much pollution. You take a country like Tajikistan, Pakistan, a lot of energy is produced from hydraulic power station. Therefore, there's no problem of actually creating carbon footprint. But this country need to build on that to do organic, and brand the product as organic, so that people like us can help support a regional cooperation, other institutions, FAO, UNESCO, work together and other material in order to help these countries to brand their product for export, create a market opportunity. Now, competitiveness of the product will come from there, I believe, right? Of course, short-term product, Professor Dr. mentioned about, there will not be short-term benefit, there will be costs, right? They need to accept to absorb the cost, but the long-term benefit is high on how they can be position themselves as a key player for the export of the product among themselves and with the rest of the world. So I would like to comment on another aspect, traceability. To be able to create a good organic farming industry, traceability is important. With independent observer certifier come and tell, yes, we confirm, right? That will create the confidence in the final buyer. We have seen that coming up very strong in cotton, the cotton industry. And this could be also part, this also will touch the countries of Central Asia to create traceability. Another thing is awareness, create awareness, we mentioned earlier, awareness of how to export. I had the opportunity to talk to cotton ginner company in Uzbekistan. They were asking how are they exporting. They say we export a lot of cotton to Russia. And I asked the question, how do you do the export? Well, they come to our factory and they buy. I said, this is not export, all right? Okay, it will go to Russia, but this is not export. You are selling domestic. So there's this conception of export practices that need to be taught. All right, this is how in a program can create this type of platform for them to learn best practices for export. Of having a good product doesn't mean you have export. Having a good product is a start of how to go for export, creating creating the export culture that will help countries, therefore, to know what is the demand at the downstream client all over the world. And that's where competitiveness will come from. You the ability to understand the export market will contribute for competitiveness in addition to quality standard, traceability, policy in place, interaction, facilitation, etc. All these are items together are the pillars that will help to boost export of agricultural product and agro-processed product from the Central Asia between themselves and with the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazim. With the last question, I think talking about competitiveness, it leads us to say that the region is full of untapped opportunities. I think there are huge opportunities coming from, this common intervention. I think it's clear that promoting sustainable agriculture and organic farming in Central Asia requires collaborative efforts. We jointly identified the challenges and the obstacles to promoting sustainable agriculture, but I think we are also intervening in the same area in a different manner. And I say here that the conclusion is that partnership for interventions is really key. Partnership is very important in terms of maximizing the impact. I think we have a lot to work together to avoid maybe overlapping in the interventions, and also complementarity is really high between our institutions. And I think we have a lot to gain by developing partnerships for the region, for the agriculture, for the sustainability, than maybe working all together. And we are looking forward to developing this relationship with all of these of you as representatives of organizations. And I would like, before concluding, to thank you for your participation, and with the attendees, maybe join me to giving a clap to the participants and thanking them for their interventions. And thank you for participating. Thank you.